I mean, that's an amazing outfit. Or oh, it's just is that just a skeleton thing from
They're oh,
God damn it. God damn it. And his mask falls up and he goes right out of the ring.
oh no.
God bless JJ Garrett. God bless JJ Garrett.
Is he supposed to be Ricky Steamboat right now?
I think so. You know what? And this is the thing about like Freelance. It has this charm to it that like I think the appearance and the production value of Freelance can save anything from being trash bag wrestler. You know what I mean? It's like when you go and you get like, oh, this is amazing. Look at Steve.
The cameraman is Akeem. The cameraman is Akeem. The bigger, the taller guy. I'm not sure what his name is.
I truly believe this. It's like if you went and you got like something that was just terrible, but you put it in really good packaging, it's still pretty good. Not saying anything from, and like Freelance has never been like terrible at all. I mean,
no,
it's wonderful. But whenever anything happens that kind of goes like, I don't know, hit the mark, it's like sort of fine. It just kind of like goes through no problem.
And I think this is something that Kirby mentioned that before, where it's like when the first Halloween Rumble happened, like it was really on the fans to either embrace it or trash it. And then after that, like magic moment happened, like I think it's what we look forward towards every year. Oh, that's awesome! Look at that.
Yeah, that because Kirby thought it was gonna suck, right? Kirby was like, "This is gonna bomb."
Well, notoriously in the indies, anything that has Rumble in it has never been good.
Okay. But has it always been like, because this is kind of like, hey, we're not taking ourselves too seriously, let's just have some fun. Does it always have that tone, or?
I don't know, but like, I don't know about you, but like every time I hear Rumble in the indies, I think about like, it's just like, is it really for anything like prestigious?
Mm-hmm.
You know? So like when you think of the Royal Rumble is awesome because you're like, well, this is gonna lead to WrestleMania. You're gonna see some cool surprises. If it's just like your local indie in like Biloxi, Mississippi, running a Rumble, you're like, all right, cool, like, all right, And I know that sounds bad, but I mean, there's nothing to it.
Yeah, you gotta make it mean something. Yeah.
But with this, what's cool about it is the fact that like it's always like that kind of feeling, like when you're joking around with your buddies and you're like, oh, okay, like what if they did this? And they like tried to get this funny gimmick over, this funny idea. Like this is insane. This is amazing.
That D-Ray?
Yeah.
That's D-Ray. Sabu. Is it Sabu? Like no, it's the Iron Sheik, right?
Oh yeah, it's Iron Sheik. We're terrible.
I think he's Iron Sheik.
It's a mesh of all of them in the Mexican body.
But like, when you like have a funny idea and you're like, oh, they should do that. And then that like literally never goes into an idea ever. It just stays like a joke. Mm-hmm. This is like an idea of being like, hey, wouldn't it be funny if we take the Halloween idea that we can get away with anything and hope that people are going to be supportive of the idea that we're not going to take ourselves too seriously and they're going to get into it. And nowhere else could pro wrestling get that over because it's already so far-fetched and crazy.
Yeah.
That, like, I would say that almost any indie can get away with this, but I don't think anybody bigger than like an indie can get away with this. Like Ring of Honor couldn't have like a gimmick battle.
No.
Like it would just be like weird,
I think I don't know if it kind of helps that like, I don't know, like I think because we talked to Nick's at length, and he's been on this podcast multiple times about how Freelance started, and it wasn't like, I don't know, you guys.
Zicky. That's Zicky Dice.
Oh shit.
That's hilarious. Go ahead. I'm sorry to interrupt.
No, you're good. You're good. It was always, I don't want to say you guys didn't take yourself too seriously, but like Nick's created it. He created it with no plan in mind. He's just like, I just want a place for my friends to wrestle. So it's almost like you can't do something like this if you want to be too cool almost or something. You want to be like too like intense because this is not the theme for it. But if you're just having it, like Freelance is always a party. So like this feels like a party, a costume party.
Yeah. And like, I think like a lot of the times, like when something so different comes out, one of the things about it that's so interesting is usually it's not scared to fail. So like Freelance was so different. It was very like punk rock in the beginning in the idea that it kind of didn't fit with like the polished indie look of something like an Evolve,
Yeah.
or like like a show like that, but it also didn't fit into that like dirty gymnasium like shindy look.
Sure.
Where I'm not like saying bad to anybody that's ever wrestled in the gymnasium, but at the same time, like that look kind of has that look to it. Like you're
right.
like, well,
right.
and the show better be really damn good because it looks like it's just basic. But this looks cool. It looks like you're in the middle of a concert.
Rep.
You know, like right now, if I was flipping through the channels on the television and I flipped this on, I'd probably stay and watch this for a second because I'd be like, what the hell is this? And it's not regular pro wrestling.
Right.
And I think it's got that good look to it. And I think we've been able to hang on to that look. And I say we very loosely because I don't really have any authority over that. But I think like the look has still maintained that, which is crazy because when it moved from the Abbey to Bottom Lounge to Chop Chop, and then it went to Logan, those are like all distinguishedly bigger venues. And I think Logan is even still a reach at times because if there wasn't people in the seats, that show would look very different, you know?
Yeah,
Spike Dudley. Yeah.
Oh, this is the Spike Dudley one. So it was the next year he did the
Goldberg.
Goldberg, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Unless he's in the Rumble twice. I mean, we've seen that happen before.
Yeah, wasn't Castro in is like all different characters?
Yeah.
Mankind on here, yeah.
Yep.
And Shinsuke Nakamura. Same Rumble, I think. So yeah,
Welcome
Craig
to
Mitchell.
Nielsen. Yep. For all your listeners, thanks you for bearing with us here.
Craig, how's it going, man? It's good to hear your voice.
It is going fantastic. How are you guys?
Doing well. It's good to have you on. I feel like it's probably a little bit overdue. But
I don't think I've never been on with you guys, right?
No. We might have done something very briefly. I was mentioning this to Charlie. I can't recall, but I think we briefly recorded something. I believe it was in Milwaukee.
That's probably what it was.
At Azello, maybe before Azello show you were on.
Yeah, before or after Azello.
I think I do remember doing that. Because that was like something I did a lot more often. I do kind of like spotty stuff. I know I did one with Jesse Matthews from Sup. I did the same thing where it was like before a show, we like just briefly talked with each other.
Okay.
But I definitely didn't do anything like this with you guys where it was like through a Zoom or on a call.
Right. And well, today we're actually taking you through the buffet line. Are you familiar at all with the structure?
No, I'm hoping I don't do terrible for you.
All right.
Well, it's not a gauntlet. It's fine.
If
it is requiring trivia, then you are in for a complete letdown.
Well, it's just the way we're gonna kind of structure this episode, because there's a lot of things that we want to talk about, and want the audience to get to know you a little bit more. And the way we structure the wrestling buffet line is, we'll start off with a salad bar, which is quick, fresh takes, such as this, amazing gift that you gave us of telling us about this 2015 Halloween Battle Royal. So if for you listeners, that's what we started. Just kind of we hopped on and found the match on YouTube, started watching that.
Yeah.
Danger Mask plays a La Parka in this Halloween Battle Royal. So check that out. We'll put the link in the description.
Mm-hmm.
But salad bar, basically quick takes, just trying to get to know you a little bit better. Hot plate will be meaty topics. We'll have some questions, and then down to the dessert, it's guilty pleasure. So basically fun questions, fan submitted questions, and then there's a game at the end, word association, where I'll give you one word and you just shout out the first thing that comes to mind.
Oh man.
All right. Well,
I don't think there's any landmines in that either. So
no, I always just think of Steve Harvey, man. Remember when the game show he would do when people just say the first thing they would say, and I just watch that man's reaction.
Oh, Family Feud?
Yeah, that's what it is.
Yeah.
I have a feeling I'm gonna say some horrible things.
No, it's all good. If any, I mean, there's always the magic of editing. So,
oh yeah,
if anything comes out that shouldn't come out, if you're burying anything deep down.
Oh man.
Talking about
Right.
editing, I think I'm gonna take this opportunity to talk about our last episode.
Please
There
do.
was no editing whatsoever. Charlie kind of took over for me. Normally I'll do the intro music. And I know in that episode we wanted to start off the episode with Escalera's music, the Mark Anthony Vivir Mi Vida. I know that's something we mentioned in the episode.
I know.
And
We never
you
got
guys,
to it.
yeah, we never got to it because there was no editing on that episode. We needed to get it out. And I just kind of want to put a disclaimer out there for that. But
This is our full apology. No, we'll put a notes app tweet up later, apologizing
for not adding music
to all Mark Anthony fans out there.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But all right, Charlie, you want to start us off at the salad bar?
Yes. Thanks for explaining that, Chris. So yes, we have Craig Mitchell here. I have former beta member, freelance underground champion, freelance tag team champion. Is there anything within the realm of Chicago, any accolades that I'm missing? Like one of the freelance originals. Have you held any other titles that I'm missing?
I mean, I think I did. I wrestled for Southland for a bit, but I mean, like at the end of the day, that's like, all right. And I mean, I had the belt there, and then I had a family thing I went to, and then I went to that, and then they stripped the belt from me because I'm a bad boy. So.
Oh damn.
Yeah. So I mean,
Dom. Well, nothing's stronger than family. So I think Dom Toretto would appreciate.
Yeah.
Would appreciate you doing that.
No, I mean that's like not a shots fired kind of thing. That was just like just something that happened. It was fun. It was one of those kind of things.
Yeah.
So.
This is going to be a very freelance heavy episode. That's what we have for you today. That's where we're going to eat from today on the buffet line. And we have this gimmick because we believe wrestling is a buffet. So like whether you're watching it's not mine. I stole it from somewhere. But whether you're watching the Halloween Battle Royal or whether you're watching we have like one of the hardcore matches you've done where you're literally throwing chairs at someone's face. Like there's something out there for everyone in wrestling. And so that's kind of what we embrace as this podcast. That's why we have the buffet line. That's why we structured our episode like that.
It is a very solid premise.
Great. This is a judgment-free zone. So, Craig, this is a starting question we usually like to ask. It's kind of very broad, so feel free to go any direction you want to. But what is it that you actually love about wrestling? What are the things that you love about it?
I think that's changed over the years. Like everybody always says the same thing. They liked it as a kid. They wanted to do it. Same thing. I loved it as a kid. It was something I loved to watch. I used to watch it with my grandfather a lot. So it was kind of like that thing. Like I got to, exchange that with someone. And then it was one of those things like, I think I can do that. And then like, I want to do that. And then I started doing like the backyard thing, which it's so crazy that it's not a taboo topic anymore. And a lot of us have really embraced where we came from. And it's amazing how broad into the indies now, especially some of the best in the world right now, have admitted where they came from in backyard wrestling, very similar to what a lot of us did. And it's funny, a lot of us all came from the same place, which is the backyard wrestling link. So everybody knows about that now. It's no but yeah, and that was the era that I came from. I started out in that, and I think that to me is probably what like developed our style. I mean, it sounds like well, you got a backyarder style, okay. But I think for a lot of us, that gave us the free reign of being able to see how we would move or how we would interact with people without having that initial first day of training yet. So we had a pretty good base. We had, it's so crazy to say, it sounds dumb, but when, you're looking at people like, like Ricky Shane Page or, like someone like that, like these people wrestled hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of matches before they started training. And then by the time they started training, they already had a base that folks that it was their fresh day of wrestling school can only dream of, right? Like so many different situations they put themselves in. So doing that, when I started to train, I already kind of had this idea of like what I would like. And for me, it's changed, like I said, over the years. I first I wanted to do all the cool stuff. I love the 2005 like Ring of Honor style. Like I wanted to do that.
Yeah.
And then over the years, like I mean, I'm getting older now. I'm more realistic about where my place is in pro wrestling. That's why I stepped away for a while.
I was gonna say you took a break for a while, right?
Yeah, and it was for several things. Like, you know, like I wanted to be around my family, and I think that's something. As I've gotten older, I've started to realize like I need to figure out that balance, and I wasn't doing that. That balance was really off. And anybody that knows me like pretty personally, I'm not like the same way I am in the ring at all. Like I'm like the complete polar opposite of that. I'm pretty like I gotta like figure my life out, you know. So I think as I've gotten older, I've started to realize that my place in wrestling is I'm very good at being like a really stable base. You could put me in a match with somebody, I could have a good match with them, and I can make that person that I would say probably has great potential to go on, maybe get signed or. And it's crazy because that's kind of been my MO. I'm really good at working with people until they get signed. And then they get signed and I'm kind of just like Brooklyn Brawler over here, like, all right.
Next man up. Like, who wants to wrestle correct?
But here's the thing though, like, and I mean that in the best way, because you need those people. Mm-hmm. You need people like us that are, you know, you could put us in a match. We're not meant to, not everybody's meant to shine, man. And I really, truly believe that. Not every single person is a star. So, I mean, yeah, I have my notoriety to do things, but I also realize that if you put me in a match with, you know, someone who is working their way through the rankings, like they're probably going to go a bit further, and they need that person to be good against versus just they're trying to shine. This person's trying to shine. They're trying to get their stuff, and this person get their stuff, and then the match just doesn't work really well.
Yeah.
So I think as I've gotten older, I've started to realize like, and it's a tough pill to swallow, I think, when you are working so hard because you want to get signed or you want to get noticed. I mean, anybody that does anything wants to be recognized for doing something good. And
yeah.
If you're not realistic about the expectations of what you're doing, and I think that's why when I stepped away, I even said it in the message. I said, I don't want to be that person that's just doing matches and just showing up and I'm doing the same brother bullshit in the ring. Like, hey man, let's just do a couple spots and then because then I'm taking a spot from someone that's really trying.
Yeah. Hard. Wow. No, that's super humble of you to say that. I think we had something on our agenda, like my question was going to be, where do you see yourself in the locker room? And I think you just kind of answered that without us asking it, but I think that's a really cool thing. I mean, and since being a freelance original and you having this mentality, I feel like it's a very strong self-awareness, because you're accepting of it too. You're not unhappy with your role. No. And you seem like a leader then. Would you consider yourself someone in the locker room who is leading or can step into like a leadership role in that freelance locker room?
Yeah. And I think but I think in that too, if someone wouldn't understand what that would mean, they might see that as like, oh, this person wants to take charge in the match, you know?
Yeah.
But I think that's like, if you look at like a really good, and I explained this to someone a while ago, we were talking about like, what's the best like way of making pro wrestling work for the two people in the match to make sure that the fan has the best experience. And it's the partnership of working together to make the match. That's like what makes it work, right? So for example, if I wrestle Nick Gage, does it make sense for me to be like, hey man, like I'm an original here and you know I know my shit and I'm gonna do all my things? Because he's gonna be looking at me like, dude, even if you were this, they want to see me do this.
Yeah.
So it like you have to look at it and go, I have to look and understand that there's gonna be a certain aspect of what the fans are expecting. They're expecting this. And we can change the directions of this to make it super like fitting, right? Like same thing if like he wrestled Kylie Ray, right? Like I'm not gonna go out there and be like, sorry bro, none of your shit.
Yeah.
You know? Like, and I understand that completely. Like,
yeah.
If you ever like watch me in a match, there's never a moment in a match where you're like, oh well, he's 100% dominating this match. It's really, I'm just putting myself in position and letting things almost happen to me, but not in a dumb way. I'm not just like standing there like, oh, here we go. You know, it's I'm putting myself in the proper position to let the things that matter happen, but happen in a way of making it like show. And I think that needs to happen. It has to happen.
And I think that's the leadership role, and we've seen this with other wrestlers that also kind of have that leadership mentality of like, look, not all my shit in has to be in this match. Like, let's work out the match to the point where we're entertaining the crowd. Like, we know 100%. What we're doing. Mm-hmm.
You know who's the best? Like, I will always 100% say the best in the area that nobody gives 100% credit to doing this is Rough Crossing. He is the best. You put him against anybody. You can put him in any match. He's super entertaining. He could be a super good heel. He could be like anti-hero babyface. But like the thing is as I say that, most people are like, really? Like Rough? And I'm like, the thing is you can put him against anybody and that person will also look good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And he's not afraid to be like completely in the back end of the match, even if it's like slapstick, like he's the chicken shit heel or whatever it is. He's super good at being present in the match, letting all of the good of what you have look good. Even if you're like brand new, they'll make your few moves look good. And then if he needs to step in and slow things down, he's super good in the ring. Like probably the best that nobody gives credit to.
Yeah. It sounds like you and him in that same sense are kind of like the fullbacks or the offensive linemen of the group, to use a football analogy, where it's like, if you don't do this, then you make like the receivers, running backs look good, and you do all the work that doesn't show up in the stat book or doesn't get accredited for. And then you need 5 linemen to have a good offense, like 5 solid linemen.
Yeah, because I think if everybody's trying to go in and be like, hey, I need to like shine and win, like I need to, if I don't do that, I don't want to do it. Well, then every match is just a bunch of people trying to look real cool. And then the fans are like, there's no story to it.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And go ahead.
Yeah. One of the things, the important things here is, as I mentioned, like you're talking about, you let other people shine, and you knowing what you're doing, you insert yourself wherever you need to. But also one of the things that, Charlie and I have talked about this numerous times when we talk about, recapping freelance shows, is that within the match, like especially your matches, you kind of have in mind the storyline, right? Like the storyline from a like bird's eye view, where like where this is going. So certain things kind of like tied to other matches, and it's like a bigger, I don't know if I'm making sense, but it's like a bigger storyline than just the match itself.
Yeah. And I think that's like,
that makes sense.
I 100% get what you're saying, and I think that sometimes gets lost. I mean, sometimes I lose it too. Sometimes you just have a cool match, and that's cool too. But like, think about any like TV or movie series you like, and like, or think of like a really good movie, and when the movie's over, you wait to the end of the credits for like the hint at the next movie.
Mm-hmm.
Are you referring to the MCU? Are you a Marvel fan?
Yeah, like something like that, right?
Yeah.
So like, but imagine that, like, okay, I have this knockout match, right? Like, lying probably because I'm having like an average match right now. Okay, so like, I have a match, and like, I have, like, we do all this cool stuff, right? But then like one thing in the match we like take an extra second to like establish it, and then the next time you see that move coming, and every fan goes, oh, that's the move. And it's like, was it easy to do that? Absolutely. All you got to do is just take like a couple seconds to fully establish that. Like, for example, like, who does this amazingly is, everybody's going to talk shit about it, but Frank the Clown, man. He does this great. You love him or you hate him, but you hate him so much that you watch him so closely.
Mm-hmm.
So if he does a thing where like he wears a mask, like when I came back, when I did the thing, that was that made so much sense, right? Because he did this, and you watched him. You hate him so much, you watch him so closely. So that works. But if like he wasn't good at being bad, you wouldn't watch it. Like, there's such a thing as a bad heel, like a stupid like heel, you're like, ugh, I don't even want to watch it. You leave, and then you don't pay attention to anything you do.
Yeah.
And everybody hates Frank so much, which is perfect, because now anything he does, it like builds seeds into things. Like with Jeff and me when we did the Freelance Underground thing, which was a reach, a stretch to try to do like a multi-match story thing.
Hashtag Summer of Craig.
Yeah, we like really tried to make the best out of that. And the crazy thing was a lot of those shows didn't have very large attendance at certain times compared to like Freelance. Sometimes some of the Freelance Underground shows they had a good crowd, but they weren't as big as the Freelance show. So you're thinking if like, let's say 300 people see something and then only like 80 people see it, you have to make sure that somehow it gets its way back online, or it make sure the crowd interacts with it enough to where when they react, the others react, or that the camera's seen it. Like those are big point things. And I think that's exactly how you make that work, right?
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's great. I'm glad you brought that up. I totally, because we basically lost a year of our lives in quarantine, I totally forgot that awesome epic series you guys had. But yeah, that was some amazing stuff. It feels like it's been so long because 2020 felt like 5 years in one or something like that, because there was so much time that passed. It felt like it.
It really did. Honestly, and I think during that time, I don't think I really paid attention to wrestling much at all. So it like made everything that was old feel new. It's pretty cool. Kind of made it nice.
How did you become the guy that is, and we'll talk about these in the main course, so I'm kind of jumping a little bit here. How did you become you seem like the bruiser now of the locker room too. Have you always been like that, or is it just like, hey, no. we need a hardcore awesome banger, let's have him wrestle Craig?
Not at all. Like honestly, like when I first started training, I loved like flippy, fast. I was a much smaller individual then. Like I did all the flips and all that stuff like that, and I was really quick, and I liked that style. But here's the truth of the matter is, at that time especially, everybody was like that. Every single person moved like that. And then when I got injured in like 2013, like I was out pretty hard with an injury to my sternum. When I came back, I had gained. If you watch the Freelance shows, I am very fit and thin, like very cruiserweighty looking. And then I out of nowhere come back and I'm very much distinctly big. And it was like crazy. I didn't realize how much weight I gained when I was injured. I just did, you know, it's understandable. And when I came back, I could still move good. Like I could still moonsault and 450 and all that crap like that. And when I came back, I realized that when I did like really like articulate, crazy things, they didn't get over as well as if they did, but it didn't get over as much as if I just did like one cool, fast move. And I'm like, well, that's why I'll just do the standing moonsault, because it's simple. I don't hurt anybody. It doesn't hurt me. It's easy to get to, and everyone's like, whoa, that big dude just did a moonsault. Right. So then I started doing less, which I think is a good approach, because like, let's say like if every match I'm going, I have these 10 things I want to do. And then when we're planning the match, I'm trying to like fit them in anywhere. I start getting careless. I'm like, I'll just put them all here. So then I just did less. I was like, I'm going to pull out all of these moves I had to do, all my cool moves, like my Rana and all this things I thought I needed. And then I went, well, what if I take the approach of just being like a defense? Like, you're going to try to get your things on me, and my defense is to stop those things. And that's where I get my move set from. It's more of like, you're going for something, I stop it. And then when I actually get a chance to hit something big, it's almost like the last thing you would expect, right? It's the big moonsault, right?
Yeah.
And then like, if I'm going to do one big move, it'd be the pile driver, because it's like, that's like notoriously an ending thing. I've broken your fucking neck, right? So I think by pulling all of that out, it sort of just left this open hitting thing. And I always would hear, I remember one of the things that Ali used to always say to us is, why would you throw 10 punches when you could just throw one good one? And that's why I started just being like, well, I'm just going to hit like one good hard time. And everything I do will be one good hit. So then it sort of turned into a brawling style inadvertently because I started just doing less. And I think that's where that came from.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah. No, I like that. I think you stuck out in that sense that, this is a guy that comes in and like he's down to business. He's more like gonna try to run, and so jump and flip over the wall. He's gonna run through you a little bit, and you kind of, I think that's a way that you stuck out to me at least. And I always associated you with that style. So it's interesting that it just kind of happened like you said it.
Yeah, I think it's just better too, because then and I know like someone might not think of it this way, but as I say it, they'll go, oh, that's a pretty damn good way to look at it too. If a lot of my moveset is based on me hitting at you and stopping you, it creates the idea that we're probably going to be upright and we're probably going to be in the center of the ring more often. Or we'll be on the outside, but we'll be upright and tall, versus it's just your move, we're down, my move, we're down. Then the whole match is kind of like down. So
sure.
At least I'm giving you a chance to go for something. The crowd sees the action. And then when I stop it, or if I hit my move, that's a big move. It's like sequence, rest, versus just like all this stuff like that. Because I don't think I pull that off. And some people do. Some people pull off all that, like that gringo loco, all the zipping around the ring stuff. That's what all the folks want to see in the gifts and stuff like that. And that's cool. It's awesome. But I'm not a gift wrestler. Like when someone is like, oh, I liked your match, they liked the match. And that's not saying anything against them at all. It's just, it's different. They probably liked the chase from the beginning to the end as a match. And like, that's kind of like what they liked about it. They weren't like, oh, the spots were cool.
Yeah.
Like they're probably just like, the struggle back and forth was really cool. And I'm glad that like you gave him a run for something, versus like, well, I loved when you put them up on the top and then you guys got all together and then you did this crazy spot that no one else can do, because I can't do that.
Yeah.
So I don't want to try to do that either.
Wow. No, that's great. I think you're it's great that we're having this conversation, because just the way you're thinking about wrestling is so much different and different in a good way. Different doesn't mean bad or good. It's just different than like some other people I think we've talked to. So I think this is like an extremely unique conversation, which is awesome.
Yeah, because I think like everybody's trying to do a lot of things, and like I'm probably doing something that other people are doing, and everybody's doing something like, and like we're very rarely having someone do something new. But I think if we're all trying to do something that a lot of people are very distinguishedly trying to do, I think it creates a lot of overlap. And I think like I'm not trying to have match of the night. That's not my thing. I'm trying to be a piece of the show that like when it happened, you're like, cool. All right, next match.
Yeah.
But you're not like, shit, that wasn't good. Or you're not like, oh, well, now the rest of the show is not going to have any moves left because I've done all the moves.
Right.
So it's like a nice little, it's an in-between thing. I'm not, and that's the thing, I don't do the scrambles often. Like doing the scramble on the last show was super cool because I was like, I'm in that fast match. Like,
yeah.
This is not my style. I don't do
how did it feel to return back to LSA?
Well, it was awesome. It felt really good. It was, for me, Logan Sport Auditorium is always cool to wrestle. Even like after doing all the shows we did there, because when I was a kid, I used to go see like punk and hardcore bands there. So I always wanted to play there because I used to be in a band a long time ago. Like that was what I started. I didn't start in wrestling. I started in music. So I always wanted to play Logan Sport Auditorium, and I never got a chance to play it. And then I used to go to like Chikara shows there and stuff like that. And then when Nick booked Logan Square, I remember all of us were like, this is awesome. We never got a chance to actually be there. And then now we're just wrestling there all the time, and it's still cool every time. So for me, at least, that's kind of cool for me. Yeah.
So, this definitely has been a hefty salad, and I truly enjoyed it. And to kind of like put a bow on this salad, I have to ask you, what is your favorite part of a salad?
You know what? I mean,
or you just despite salads?
I'm sure you're not shocked if you're, judging by my physical appearance. I don't really eat many salads.
Davey Bang hates salads, so
If I was being judged and I had to eat the salad, I would probably just pick the croutons out of it. That's the worst.
that is a very common answer.
That is probably what I would.
It's a very common answer. I love it.
I would say that, whenever we, take wrestlers to the wrestler buffet line, I want to say 90% would say croutons.
I don't think it's 90, but it's a lot. It's
87.9.
Yeah, it's like maybe 6 out of 10. Maybe, I don't know, what is that, 60%, 70, like 70%?
It's 70 verbally, but 100% mentally. Everyone's thinking, they're just like, how do I eat this garlic bread out of this salad without looking like a fat ass?
It's so good. There was one day this week where I just went in for a snack and I just grabbed a handful of croutons and went back to the desk. Like, I'll do that any day. I'm not ashamed.
I used to work at Jewel also,
Okay.
and I'm on lunch. This is forever ago, and I remember this kid goes on lunch. He brings a loaf of bread up into the break room, and I'm like, well, this is the smartest kid I've ever met, because he probably bought lunch meat and bread, and he's gonna make sandwiches throughout the week, and that's smart. He didn't do this. He literally opened the loaf and just started folding pieces of bread, and he ate like 5 or 6 slices. And then, like a savage, he threw the top away, spun the loaf, and then put it underneath and put it on top of the refrigerator. And I couldn't believe it. I've never seen a human being just eat that much like bread and then just get up. I would have just passed out.
That's terrible. I don't want to see what that man's insides looks like. Oh my God. That's brutal.
He wasn't a big guy, that was like an Olsen figure, like just a bottomless pit of a person, I guess.
That's insane. Good answer though. I would say croutons. So it's a very good answer.
All right. Well, cheese is still not up in the top 5 answers, but yeah, for me it will be cheese.
Everyone loves cheese. I mean,
all right. So let's move on to the hot plate. And I think, we learned a lot about you, but one of the things that, we learned about your style and how it got developed and how it stands out, which is great. But Craig Mitchell, as a wrestler, who is Craig Mitchell?
I would say, I think of it as like, it's very much like what I would like to see from like my perspective. If like I went to a show and I was like, I just need to see a very solid like style, like whether, and here's the thing is, if I'm a fan of something, I don't even care if it's like the same as what I'm doing. I just like if they're just solid at it, like if they're just good at it. So like in my like Craig Mitchell approach, as I settled into like kind of the way I am now, I just want to be solid at it. I just want to be, I know I'm not the greatest, and I'm very aware of that.
Mm-hmm.
But I know I'm also like, I know that I'm not like the shits. Like I know I'm not terrible. I know that I can hold my own. I know that like I'm confident. Enough in what I'm doing. So I think me as like the wrestler, I'm just trying to, it's like you're trying to be like, yes, this is my brawling, fighting style. But when you're watching it, you're not losing confidence in me that I'm not confident in what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So like, for example, like if you see a star, it doesn't mean that they're like, there's any part of them that doesn't believe that in that moment, that's what they're doing, right? So, but that doesn't mean that you have to be like a super successful, crazy, superstar. But anybody that owns it and just kind of goes in, this is what I'm gonna do. I'm not gonna break from this. This is just the way I'm gonna approach it. I'm gonna be confident. That's what I'm trying to do.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that like there's a million things I need to work on, like a million things, right? But I think being honest in that's also like what helps me just be confident, because I know that like this is what I got right now.
Yeah.
This is my tools. So and I think, yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No. Sorry to cut you off. I think the spirit of the question was because I don't know if that maybe sounded redundant, asking that, not your answer. Your answer was different. But I think the spirit of the question is almost like mentally or character wise, I think was the spirit of the question. So to me, when I look at Craig Mitchell come to the ring, he's angry. All right. He's pissed. Like, I feel like if I like tap Craig Mitchell on the shoulder, be like, hi, Craig. Like, and just like, I'm a huge fan, just tap on the shoulder, I would catch like an unintentional elbow to the face. Or like, I feel like you feel like I went to a smaller private high school. And I think that helped build my confidence. I think Charlie walking in a freshman year of a large public school, I would have ran into a Craig Mitchell and he would have thrown my ass in the locker. Like, that's the vibe. That's the vibe I get. I get anger. And like, so I think like that was the kind of the spirit of the, not that your answer was wrong because it built on what you said previously, but like, I think that's the spirit of the question. Like, Craig Mitchell in the ring, what is his psyche and what is your thought process to get into him? Who is that character?
I think it's just intensity. And I think that's what other people have always said to me too. Like, when they're like, oh, the match was good. Like, you were really intense. And I think like, that's probably the best answer. Cause like, think about like what you wouldn't want to fight. Right. And like I said, I'm not like saying I'm the most like vicious opponent you're ever going to have. Cause there's people out there like, fuck, I wouldn't work with that person. But what's the most dangerous thing is that something that doesn't stop like coming at you. So if the intensity is moving forward, that's like even if you're confident you can put that out, because I'm sure, I've lost plenty of matches. But if the idea is that person doesn't want to stop moving forward at you, that's like a good intensity. So I guess that would be the answer for that. Yeah,
no, you're like a rhino out there. I mean, like, that's who Craig Mitchell is. And it is intense, it's scary. It's like it's intimidating. I mean, some of these matches that you had. So let's talk about some of these matches that you had where like maybe before I knew kind of about your character. Well, like the beta stuff. That was when I was kind of first introduced to you. So Chris and I's first show was when it was a 3-way. It was Ali, Isaiah, and GPA at the Bottom Lounge. That was the main. So that's when we first started, and I think you might have already been in beta at this point. I think maybe Nix was heel.
I think we were in a 4-way tag match on that show.
Yes.
Yeah.
So so let's talk about your time in beta. How did you enjoy that? What did you enjoy most about it? And like that whole faction and kind of being it was like a group of bullies. It was like a group of we're elite and we're better than you.
Yeah, and I think like the bully thing was cool, and I think that's kind of like where like the Midwest bully thing stayed with. And then I inadvertently didn't realize that some other people in the area call themselves the Midwest bullies. So
shame on you.
Jesus Christ, if I didn't hear about it, I'm sorry. But I think like at that time it was like fun. Like here's the thing, like bullying is like 100% nothing that anybody can be like, yeah, I love bullying. I think it's great. You never met someone on the street who was like, oh yeah, I'm 100% behind bullying. It's great for you. You should totally bully people. But I think what we did was we were so animated, and that's what was fun about it. We were so animated, and you also didn't find us threatening. It was more entertaining. Like we were like, I always say like Bulk and Skull from like Power Rangers. Like if you are familiar with what I'm talking about. Like were just like,
oh yeah. With the jean jackets and stuff.
Yeah, and but that's the thing. When a movie or like a show like presented bullies in like the 90s, they were always like they would show up on screen and there'd be like a power cord behind them. It'd be like, bam! You'd be like, oh, those are the bad guys. But you never were like, fuck them for bullying, assholes. Like you were just like, okay, well, I know that they're gonna try to rough up the good guys. And the good guys will more than likely prevail. So I don't have to worry about this, but I can like relax enough to be entertained for a second. And that's 100%. We were doing that, but we were also like, I'm not trying to sound like an ass, but we were like also like still pretty good. So like we were considering ourselves to be like an elite tag team. So, and that's, I think what you have to do. If you're like, hey, we're bullies, but we like suck ass, like why would you put us in matches? Then we're like, silly. But if we're like silly bullies, kind of like we're animated, we're funny, we're cracking silly jokes, but then we're like still relatively threatening, you're like, well shit, they might get the tag belt, so you're gonna watch the match. And I think that's literally how Beta like stayed that way.
Yeah, and then you did.
Yeah, and it worked out. And I think we had Isaiah, who was like genuinely very good, like very good. And he didn't have to be a bully. He was like our like messiah, like the best wrestler.
Yeah.
And then we were kind of like not as good as him, but it like didn't mess with us. It was like we were like underneath him, like, but it was like cool. And I think that's like you need that.
Yeah.
That was cool. Like none of us were like fighting for like it was like Isaiah had the world, and then we were underneath him, and we just wanted him to keep the world. You know, like we weren't fighting for the world either. So Beta worked in this kind of way of being like we were a faction, and like true to the faction, we protected the belt because if the leader didn't have the belt, well, you see what happened when he lost the belt, we kicked him out.
Mm-hmm.
So that was the story, right? And that honestly is what turned the face of Beta and actually made people kind of go like, shit, I kind of like Beta because they're like, I can watch this. Like it was like actually something to follow.
Yeah.
That was like Freelance's attempt to like try to hook you into stories and stuff.
Yeah.
Did it work? Yeah, it worked. But like some didn't get it. Like you had to go to the shows too. And I think before IWTV, if you weren't there, you missed it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true.
I think Beta was ahead of its time. I'm not saying we were the greatest by any means because we were just whatever. But I think we could have probably had a better run with Beta if it would have been a little later. If that makes sense?
Okay. No, I enjoyed it. I mean, I think you guys were that the linchpin heel faction, and factions are fun. I think there's probably a shortage of factions right now in the indie scene. There's great tag teams. But I think it would be cool to see because like you guys had 4 deep, if you count Coach Joe, 5 deep. So
and I seen this tweet the other day. I really wish I could give credit to who posted it. It was a very good tweet in saying like I want to see more tag teams that are actually like tag teams. And I would say that's the same as factions. I don't want to just see X amount indie show 2 cool guys that are good as individual wrestlers wrestling together as a tag team. I like to see tag teams, like people that are like the workhorsemen. That's a tag team. Yeah, they did individual stuff, but when you watch them as a tag team, you were like, okay, this is gonna be awesome. You know, like when you think of a solid stable, it's like those guys all fit together. It's not just like they happen to like, and I think that was what worked. We were on all the shows. When one came out, so all of us came out.
Yeah.
That's how it should be.
Yeah.
It's not like you know, you think of like the Dark Order, right? That works, right?
Mm-hmm.
They all come out.
You guys all had matching shirts and they were to the point. They weren't like crazy designs. Like that's how you guys were, like to the point. Just like yeah. You built that and it took a while to build. And yeah, no, I think we appreciated it.
We talked about the Beta run.
Yes.
Let's touch a little bit on the Freelance Underground Championship run. Because when I think about a Freelance Underground champion, you know, as many as there have been, I think of Craig. Like, I think that kind of like maybe because it happened during the transition of, you know, where the title was being defended on Freelance at Logan Square Auditorium. Because we just kept seeing you in all the shows, whatever that case was. Like to me, when I think of a Freelance Underground champion, I think of Craig. So can you talk a little bit about that run and how that was defending the title in both freelance companies?
Yeah, and I think like that was cool because like for me, like I've never ever wanted to have a belt ever. Like I just didn't. It's not that I didn't want the responsibility of being like, oh, I'm tied to your company now. Like, and this is independent wrestling. Whoa, all right. But I just like never wanted like I think the pressure of making sure that the belt meant something. Because at the end of the day, like, I mean, let's be realistic here. At the end of the day, if you're looking at independent wrestling as a step below of where some people are trying to be, sometimes these belts are just as important as backyard wrestling at times, right? I know that sounds so horrible, but think about it for a second. If I have the world something belt, am I defending it in the world? No.
No.
It's probably going to stay in somewhere, right? and I'm not knocking anybody. I'm literally not. I'm just saying, like, if we're looking at it from this presentation of like, I'm trying to make this matter, right? And I just felt like I couldn't do that. And when James was like, well, we're going to give you the belt for Freelance Underground, I'm like, well, how do I like try to have fun with this to the idea of like making people like care that I'm winning the belt? So like we just did like little things. Like when I beat Ruff, like it was like, I always remember that line where I'm like, you know, he's like, I'm gonna fucking kill you. And I go, oh, then fucking kill me. And like the crowd like got behind like that style of like fighting, right? Like they were like, shit, they're gonna fight for this. And then when we did
just
the next
real quick sidebar here. I specifically remember, and correct me if I'm wrong, but your matches, I don't know if it was intentional or whatnot, but Charlie always talk about the match that sends people into intermission. Your matches, from what I remember, they were like all these title matches, they were sending people to intermission at freelance shows. So you knew that this was going to be a hot match that needed the crowd to cool down after.
Yeah. And I think like, but I definitely agree. I think that's what I don't know. I always like, I don't try to overthink anything. I try not to, but like, I really don't. But like, I think like that's the thing about me is that I'm like trying to actively think about why. So if we're not trying, and this is not me, this is anybody in wrestling. If we're not trying to make the title, and this goes back to why I said it's like it feels like sometimes like it's like backyard wrestling. Not every company is like this, and I'm not saying that about everybody, but some places it's like cool, like you know, Joe Schmo is the, you know, the cruiserweight title of, you know, blah blah blah. It's like, well, that's great, all right, cool. Now what? But like if we're trying to make these matches mean something and actually trying to put some prestige to the belt, then we have to have the match have a good solid placement or something. If it's just like being like defended and exchanged and the match is kind of it's lost in the beginning of something, you know, it just doesn't hold anything. So when we would do a match, even if I knew that I couldn't top another match on the show, which is almost all the time, I know I can't. That's just not what I do. We would have to go a different route and maybe make it like super dirty or super brawling, super much like a fight, to where like I remember like when I beat Marcus Crane, I had the belt. Like I was very much still not liked, and I knew this. And when I beat Marcus Crane, which like to me is like that's not my style. When I did like the crazy pile driver to Marcus Crane, and I go, and this was not planned. No one said anything to me to do this, but I felt like it should be said. And I grabbed the microphone and I go, if you want this belt, you're going to have to fucking kill me. And then everyone's like, oh, like that's, he's aggressively defending this as his own. So that the next time that I come out with the belt, I'm like, you want this so bad. Yeah. We know where this match is going to go. And I think like anybody could do that. I didn't do that because I'm like some kind of super crazy wrestling genius. I just knew that I had to figure out a way to get you excited, because I know that I'm not going to go out there and have this like 45-minute, you know, Ring of Honor crazy Broadway match. I know that's not what I'm going to be able to do. So I have to do X to make you go, cool, let me see. And I think that's anybody could do that. I think just sometimes it just doesn't pan out that way because maybe they just don't think of it that way. They just want to do their thing, you know, and like it just, I think it just doesn't. Isaiah is a perfect example of this. How did Isaiah captivate folks for so long on that freelance belt? And it's because he, night after night, put the title as this prestigious thing that even the best in the world couldn't take from it.
You said the word meaning a bunch of different times, and I think you pour your heart and soul into this. I can tell it just from talking to you, because you don't overthink, but you have to put that thought into how can we make anything that we do meaningful and everything have a purpose. So the anti Craig Mitchell belt then is the 24/7 title. Is that correct? You would just win it and throw it in the trash and just be like, yeah, I renounce it. I'm done.
We had a Anywhere championship when we were a backyard wrestling company. We had this Anywhere belt, and it was so fun. I think those things are fun. I wish like pro wrestling could have that now. Like it was just like the anywhere matches like Kenny Omega would do.
Mhm.
And you'd just be like at a show, someone could just get pinned and get like Castro always had the anywhere belt and he would just beat people for it. It was awesome.
Oh, it's so good. Any memories from your match with Nick Gage and your match with Tremont? Because I still to this day it's burned into my skull. I don't know if this was planned or not, but when you threw like 4 chairs in a row at Matt Tremont's face, it's that spot is burned into my skull. I can't get out of my head. I don't want it out, but
the crazy thing about those matches is like the complete feeling of like, what the hell am I doing in this match? Like I do not fit this match. And I think like if I were to go back to myself like 10 years ago and be like, oh yeah, you're gonna have this match, I'd be like, well, it's probably gonna suck. It's probably gonna be awful because I just don't fit that style. And then now, like I think for me, being in those matches was really cool. It was like a cool experience to see like how I could make that work. Like to me, that's what I like. I like being in a match that like on paper you're like, well, that's fucking weird. Because I think when someone sees a match and they're like, oh, that match is gonna be awesome. Well, now they're like really critically watching, waiting for
their expectations are building. Yeah.
Yeah. I think about a match that has like no expectations. And you're like, well, let's see. Like I think that I always go back to the Marcus Crane match. People talk about the Nick Gage and Tremont match a lot, but I always go back to like the Marcus Crane match because everyone was like, well, what is he gonna do? Are they gonna have a death match? Are they gonna do hardcore? Are they gonna wrestle? And I think when we started the match, everyone was like, well, we have no clue how this is gonna go. And it went like, I guess more of like the Marcus Crane style. But I think seeing me fit my way into that was what made it cool for me.
Yeah, I see. No, I think I had high expectations for you versus Shane Mercer recently, but I think you met those. So I don't know. Yeah,
it was fun for me. Like I 100% honest. I'm still very nervous, like ring rusty feeling to get back in the ring. Only had 5 matches back in the last like 2 years, you know?
Yeah.
It's crazy.
I love that in the spot where you're just like, you just flat out, I don't know what I'm doing because you were setting something up. That was such a good, like, it almost like took the tension out of the room in a good way for like all of us because we were so like, oh, fuck, what's going to happen? You just said that. We're like, oh, okay, this is going to be fun.
If you listen closely, I say shit like that all the time. Like in the most intense matches I've ever been in, like the way I am as a person, I literally do that in the match all the time. I say silly shit that I genuinely mean because I think that we can all agree now, like 99.9% wrestling fans now, 100% want to see genuine like interaction. Like if you're not interacting with fans, I mean, yeah, there's interacting like, come on, or yeah, baby, or like, give me some claps. But like, you know, what's funnier than like when he went to lift the bleachers, right? And
we were laughing. We literally said that on when we recapped that show. We're like, I don't know if he knew the bleachers were connected because they were.
Well, it's funny. I tell him like everybody's gonna want to see you lift these goddamn bleachers. And he's like, I want. And he literally goes, I think I could. I go, 100% you cannot lift these bleachers.
No.
So in the match, I'm like, I literally go to him, and so originally, I'll let you end this. Originally, the spot off the bleachers, I was gonna do a running 450 because I thought I could do it, and then I put him near the table, and we grabbed the wrong table. This is 100% honest what happened. We grabbed the wrong table, and it was the flimsy one. The one that we did the moonsault and battery was the one that we were supposed to use for the 450.
Okay.
So genuine 100%, I was going to lay him on it, and I was going to throw caution to the wind and go, I'm back wrestling, motherfucker, and I'm going to try a 450. So I thought I could do it, and I was going to try it. And so when we got there and we realized it was flimsy, that's actually when I tell him, I go, try to lift the bleachers. He goes to lift the bleachers, and I'm like, I hit him, and I remember going like, they're so fucking heavy and they're nailed down, you fucking idiot. And that popped the crowd. And I go, okay, I'm actually glad we're not doing the 450 spot right now because that would like bring it back down to serious, right?
Yeah.
So it was like funnier because then I got up there and I'm like, what am I doing up here? And I'm like, I don't even do double stomps. Like I've never done a double stomp in my life. And you can tell I don't do double stomps because I'm so genuinely afraid to hurt someone that I like don't even almost make contact with Mercer's head. I completely am like, whatever, man. Like I do like the Shane McMahon did the elbow up with Ronnie, like barely touched him. I don't even touch him. Because at the end of the day, I don't hurt anybody. So I'm like very next to him. And then I land and then I say, and I could do hardcore wrestling too. So I just kept like hitting the crowd with comedy to deflect the fact that I fucked up that whole spot by grabbing the wrong table. Because I could do hardcore wrestling. I throw him in the ring and I grab the ice and I put the ice in the top of my trunks and then picked it out of the bottom. And then I put it in Mercer's mouth and I go, and I can do comedy. And everyone started laughing. And I was like, thank fucking God that worked, because I ruined that whole big spot that we were supposed to do. So that actually was legitimately what happened.
Yeah, no, I mean, I wouldn't, I never, that thought never went through my head. Oh, this is ruined. So you fooled all of us.
I was like laying there. I'm like, I just did a double stomp. I'm like, what am I doing? Like, I'm not that. I like literally in the air was like, this is not good. Like, what do I break my ankle? Like now I'm the guy that broke his ankle doing a double stomp because I don't do that shit. And I literally went, all right, here we go. Of all the moves, I should have just DDT'd him or something.
Any others that stick out to you as some of your favorites that you've done?
Matches?
Yeah.
I think like legitimately like my favorite matches that I've ever done are like silly little like matches that I don't even think like I truly expected for them to be so good. And it's not that I wasn't working against someone amazing. They just ended up being like amazingly good matches. Like when I wrestled Gary J at Freelance Underground for the first time, that was like awesome match. And that like sparked my interest back in Gary J because I always thought he was wonderful. But I never knew if I would match with him really well. And then after that, I had like these amazingly good matches with him. Charles Garvin, Big Beef.
Oh, okay.
He's like,
yeah,
dude, no one I think in the Midwest realizes how good this dude is. He's so good, like so good. Total brawler. I had really good matches with him at St. Louis Anarchy. Wonderful. I would say like those two people stand out as like people I've had like fantastic matches, like never had issues with. And then obviously I've always loved working with Jeff. I've wrestled Jeff more than I think people realize. I wrestled Jeff one time 3 times in a weekend. And like I don't think anybody will ever see those matches. Those matches are probably never published. But I don't think Jeff, maybe he does, and people are just so hard to the gimmick, they don't say it. But I don't think people give Jeff enough credit either. Jeff's like,
that's our way of giving him credit.
Yeah, Jeff's rock solid.
You give him credit and we just nod our head. That's as far as we'll go. No. We give him credit through our teeth sometimes. So and that's just because we love to hate him.
Yeah, he's good at what he does, man.
Yeah. That's the main course. Do you have a favorite like entree or main course food? Are you like a burger or a dog guy or like?
Oh, dude, I'm so picky and basic. My fiance hates me. I am like a big like pizza dude.
Okay.
Real much. Don't ask me what my favorite pizza is because it's literally like whatever. I can eat like amazing pizza where people are like, this is the best. And then I can also eat like the shittiest pizza too. And I'm like,
pineapple? Is pineapple okay?
No. But you know what? I won't knock you for having it though. I'm not against it. I'm not against it.
You just won't order it.
No, if I won't order it. But if you want to have it, you're cool to have. I am a totally accepting human being.
Yeah. Pizza's good anytime, anywhere, no matter what type it is, I think.
I can't knock anybody for liking something. I don't like anything. So I don't even know.
Great. Chris, you want to lead us into dessert?
Yeah. So dessert, guilty pleasures. We have some questions, but I'm gonna go off script here a little bit.
Okay.
I recall having conversations, and I don't remember with who, but we were all like when Mustafa Ali was making his debut at I don't know if it was NXT or main roster, but like he was cutting some really cool promos, and you could tell it was the back of the Galley Arena, and somebody's like, oh, Craig is editing that.
A lot of people don't realize that I have that. I do that. And I don't do it anymore as much.
That was really good stuff. Like, outside of the wrestling and outside of the great person that you are, like that talent, like it was spot on. Like I love the production of that. And I was gonna ask you, like, can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, I think for me, a lot of people don't realize I have a background in video work because I don't do much. I edited some of the freelance trailers. I don't think anybody knows that either.
Oh no.
No.
I think in my life, I've always been kind of like I start a lot. I like a lot of things, and I try to do a lot of things, and then I get a little overwhelmed, and then I kind of have to like put things to the side, and then I kind of like do things in spurts. So video is one of those things. Like I started doing more video work when I think my wrestling kind of was starting to not fizzle or maybe fade, I guess is the way to look at it. Like I wasn't taking as many bookings, or I was mainly only doing freelance stuff. And I started doing this stuff for Ali. And the way that actually came about was I was talking to him. We were shooting some stuff at practice, and I showed him some of the stuff that I can edit. And we were just bouncing ideas off each other. And a lot of the ideas in the beginning were like very vanilla, like show him shaking hands with people and like, hey, I'm going to be at the next show. And then we started talking more like concept pieces. And I'm like, hey, like, what do you want to do? And he had these really good ideas. And like, the thing is like Ali's ideas were very reserved in the beginning. And then they kind of got a little bit bigger as they went. And then we just bounced ideas off each other. And he would come to me with a concept and we would think how we could shoot it. And I think because we didn't have too much influence and we were kind of able to get away with everything, it was very pure and to the point because we didn't have any kind of like producer in our ear or anything. Towards the end, producers started getting involved a little bit, which is fine, 100%. I mean, as you would imagine, because now like at this point, like I was legitimately producing content for WWE right now. So
Yeah.
for me, it was really cool, but like I very much knew that like I could either go the route of like continuing to pursue video production work, which I feel like that market is, and I'm not at that level. I loved what I did, but I knew that like maybe the market was a little saturated with, I would say like high end, like people went to school, this is their life. And then I'm kind of just this dude that just like had a good eye. Mm-hmm. So the content we were producing was just very genuine. And I feel like when the producers started getting involved and we were trying to produce what we liked, and then it was being cut and changed and yeah. But then I also like think a lot of people and I just want to quickly touch on this because I don't think anybody's ever publicly talked about this, and this is like a genuine thing that happened. One of the last videos I did for Ali was the one where he's like talking to himself. Mm-hmm. And at that time I was completely out of wrestling. I was not wrestling at all, and he had this idea. And I wasn't wrestling. And if you check, I'm sure it's on Twitter somewhere. And we shot this video, and he literally the text chain goes, I have this idea for a video. And I'm like, cool, come to the gym I work at. The gym closes around like 8 p.m. We can shoot there. No one will be there. And we shoot this idea where he's like him talking to himself as well, but it's like the evil, realistic version of himself. The video's out there. You can find it. And I believe WWE used it. Like, I'm pretty sure it aired on SmackDown. And I know on Twitter alone, it got like a lot of views. I want to say it had over 100,000 views. But at the exact same time, Matt Fitchett made a video where he was doing like the same thing, where he was talking to himself. And I did not see the video.
Okay.
I cannot speak for Ali, but Ali said he didn't see the video, and I'm pretty sure I believe him. But it was crazy. We got this huge amount of backlash for it, where people thought we stole the idea, and that I'm a piece of shit for shooting the video this way. And for me, like 100%, I never really like, when like I feel like when people start attacking you, which I'm not used to that because I'm mean, right? I'm not really a mean.
Yeah, you're the opposite of how you are in the ring, and is what I'm getting.
Like,
yeah,
I didn't freak out. Like, people were trying to like talk shit about me online and stuff like that, and that's fine. But it was one of those things where I was like, wow, like it is so crazy how I've never talked about this publicly before, where like 100% genuinely, we had legitimately no intent of being like, wow, this video is the exact same, but we also have WWE behind it. Like when we put the video out, it had the little WWE logo in the corner. Like that obviously was going to get more attention. And not because it was better. We're not saying that. It just happened to get more traction. He has a bigger following. And I think when Fitch had seen it initially, he was like, dude, what the fuck? And I talked to him individually, and then I know Ali talked to him individually. And like, I truly believe that he genuinely understands that I have literally no clue that that video came out. But it was one of those things that happened, and we were like, shit. And that literally was the last video we ever did together. And I'm pretty sure that was like the end of that, just because I feel at that point, 100% Ali had to start using social media content creators to know to be.
Yeah. Well, I think you produced some great stuff. I mean, it was a hell of a run. And say that, I hope you, not that you were asking for it, but I guess I hope you got either fulfillment out of it or damn, maybe a paycheck from the E, Vince. Like, look what I'm doing down here.
I think a lot of people didn't realize I did it too. I still like every once in a while run into like casual wrestling fans that are like, oh, I just found out you like made those videos. It's pretty cool. And like, that's for me, that's really cool, because that's another one of those situations. Like when we made that, it wasn't like, hey, I'm making you this video. Can you like give me a shout out or something like that? Like it was more like, hey, I think I can produce this and I think it'll come out pretty good.
Right.
And it ended up being like pretty good, you know, like it ended up working for what it was supposed to be.
Yeah.
But that stopped there. And I don't think anybody understands what happened. Because still people ask me like, oh, you make any more of those videos? Nope. no, I don't. And I think it's because
are you out there for a hire? Or would you do it again, or would you dabble?
Yeah, 100%, okay, 100%.
I
just never want to dabble with. I never want to dabble into cancel culture again.
No, I know that can be. I believe your intent as long as, and you know it too, and like all your guys' intent was honest. So I guess just the timing of it sucked.
I actually felt bad though, because I could see it. Like I could see from the perspective of those like defending him, like they were really quick to defend him, and like that's cool. Like you got people like stand by your side and defend you, but it was really weird being on the other side and being like, dude, this is not true. Like this is legit fake news shit right now.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's because like he, in that sense, you had the WWE logo, so maybe you were looked at as the evil corporation stealing an idea from the underdog, even though you didn't. We
were Mondo Burger in Good Burger.
Yeah. Oh, it's good. I gotta jump in here. I want to hear your story. Not that you can, just from your perspective. You don't have to tell the whole story because we've talked about this with Nick's before. If you want to go
Castro,
if you want to go listen to any of those episodes that we've done with them, they're on SoundCloud, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, etc. But like this, I think you might have been in the initial van for the day one of training with those guys, where like you showed up to a warehouse and you weren't sure if you were in the right spot, right? Were you in that car?
Dude, so you're talking about where over in Narragansett or something like that? Is that where they like in the truck yard?
It goes different ways. I remember Nick talking about the south side. I remember Casual talking about it was near what is that? Irving Park or something like that.
He said you guys weren't sure where you were, but then you heard the sound of a mat. Like you heard a ring, like someone taking bumps, and you're like, oh, okay.
I think truthfully, they went once and then I went after.
Okay.
I think they went like the initial time, and then they were like, yeah, we got this place we're going to.
Mm-hmm.
And then I went, and it was but I guarantee like my interpretations of how it looked is the same how they felt on day one. Because we pull in and I'm like, well, this is where rape happens. This is where it happens. Familiar? Like it's like a truck yard. Nothing looks like it works. Like any ID channel show where they're like, oh, and it was in the truck yard. You know, like this legitimately looked not like where you
sketchy.
And here's the crazy thing. Carlos ran goddamn shows in there. He ran like Dolly shows in. Yeah, he ran shows in there. I saw like Marche Rocket and Acid Jazz versus Victoria's Secret in there, which is like Mason Conrad's old gimmick. I saw them wrestle in that place. And then the main event was Hammett 450 versus Boz. It was wild.
Okay.
Because we were training with Boz and we were like, oh, we wonder if Boz can go. And then like he's like in there like wrestling all hard. And we're like, oh shit. I mean, now we all know Boz is like Boz, but at that time we were like, oh shit, our trainer's wrestling.
That's great.
You know, like when you first start, that'd be like if you went to school and your teacher just like got into a fist fight afterwards, you know?
Yeah. So sketchy place. We have some fan submitted questions. You saw this one on Instagram. I think the most grueling match you've been in, which is Ryan the Cactus King on Instagram asked that.
The most grueling match. I did. Like before I was doing pro stuff, I was doing deathmatch stuff and backyard wrestling.
Okay.
And I had this match one time in St. Louis. It was for this show called WrestleGasm, which is
oh my god.
And I wrestled Rockin' Rivera. He's actually working now, which is good. He's working shows. I wrestled Rockin' Rivera on this show. The crazy thing about it was I was supposed to wrestle this other kid because we were children at the time. We were like 17. And I was supposed to wrestle someone else on this show, and he ended up getting into town and backed out of the match. It was supposed to be like a death match. And Rockin's like, well, fuck, the match has to happen, you know? So we just quickly like fix the match. We go over it. And I know I'm probably downplaying how crazy this match was. This match was fucking insane. And because at the time we were like 17, we don't give a shit.
Can we
right?
find it on the internet?
Probably not. But there are clips. I could probably send you if you ever really wanted to see them. I got clips somewhere. But like we do all this crazy shit. We do like top rope Canadian destroyer to the outside through a bunch of light tubes. Like I light him on fire. Like we both got like super fucked up. Like I have stitches on my hand, like still open from this. Like
Jesus.
Like I like split the back of his tricep open really bad. He had to get like 8 stitches. Like we were putting like firecrackers in each other's gear and shit. Like it was crazy for the time. The finish of the match, of the match was an Angel Wings Canadian destroyer through an open chair. Like it was crazy. Like we did a bunch of shit. And when the match was over, I didn't realize like how bad we were both injured. And there was a medic on staff because that's what backyard wrestling really was at the time. We had a medic. It was crazy. We were really making it. And the medic is like, he's going to the hospital for sure. And he's like, let me see your hand. So when I cut my hand open, it was right in the beginning of the match, and someone threw a t-shirt in, and I wrapped my hand. I'm sure anybody that's listening to this that was like around, like Nick or Castro, probably laughing because they remember the show. And Castro was wearing like a hazmat suit with gloves.
Okay.
He was the ref of the match. And, I like get my hand split open like really bad, and I someone throws their shirt into the ring, and I wrap my hand, and I just finished the match. And at the end of it, he's like, well, he's for sure going to the emergency room. Let me see your hand. And I unwrap my hand, and like my right here in my palm, like you probably can't see it, but there's like a scar that goes like that. It was open about an inch wide. Fuck. And as my like heart rate was up, obviously my pulse was up, and I'm pretty sure that like I cut deep into my head. I didn't hit an artery or anything like that, but like you can visibly see that I was very much bleeding continuously. And he's like, you 100% go to the emergency room. So we were supposed to go to Jump Zone too, which pissed me off. That was like much more fun. And we didn't get to go to Jump Zone, but we both got to go to the emergency room. And I always remember this because it was like very nerve-wracking because I'm like away from home. I don't have any insurance. I'm a fucking idiot. I just like spent like $200 on all this deathmatch shit just to have this backyard wrestling match. It's all like setting in that I'm a failure in my life at this point. And I'm laying there, and Rockin's in the other room, and I remember like quickly talking to him as he was getting stitched up. And I'm like, how do you feel? And he's like, never felt better. And that's always like what I've remembered from that match. But it was legitimately the most grueling thing I've ever done. That match legitimately fucked me up. It was like a GCW death match, but like before anybody could even care or it matter. It was like literally the last time I ever was like, yeah, let me see how hard I can physically go in the ring. And literally like the next couple months we were training. So that was like my last like big backyard death match thing.
That is fantastic story. I love that story because you guys are just so great. It's just such a mentality that some people will never have that, like throwing yourselves on the line for that for nothing.
If I had clips
for the glory,
I'll send them to you. It was crazy. Like if you were to see it, you'd be like, oh shit, like this could have been a match now. And I remember like Nick and Stevie and all of them were there, and they were like, what the fuck are you guys doing? Why are you doing this?
Oh, that's what I asked myself as well. Speaking of backyard
Nick,
wrestling, yeah, Nick's texted me a question. He said, who from backyard wrestling would you love to have a match with now on the indie scene?
Do they have to still actively be wrestling, do you think? Or would it be their like backyard persona?
I think it's like picking a person from the backyard era of your life and putting them in the indies, like in the LSA now. I think is the spirit of the question.
I would say HTTC from HWF, who also wrestled with like Ricky Shane Page.
Okay.
He was one of my favorites. I would say that, or CJ Phoenix, who was in Australia. He used to wrestle for HVWA. Those were like the two. Yeah, I would say those are probably like the top two. Because at that time they were putting out like great content.
Yeah.
Like they were like the top of the backyard wrestling sphere. But ironically enough, neither of them stayed with wrestling though, which is crazy.
There's an episode of My Violent Tendencies where you three, you, Castro, and Nix, your knowledge of backyard wrestling is like fully on display. I think that sentence just had things that were like Chris and I are like, that sounds fun, but I don't know who that person is. But like there's such it's like an encyclopedia in there. I don't think people realize how much you guys were involved and probably know about that scene at the time.
Backyard wrestling's deep, man. There is a documentary on it. There's a documentary called The Link. It's wonderful.
The Link?
Are you in it?
They mention us.
Oh, nice.
Isn't this where like I don't know if this is the documentary, but there is a documentary that Nick talks about like that kind of took place in the indie scene and you guys were part of that, but I'm not sure if this is it.
It might be, and I think it's around the same time. The producer and director of The Link is his name is they used to call him Lee Andrews, or like Andrew List, I think is his name now. He does A-list productions.
Okay.
He's made like videos for like Zayn and people like that. But at the time, the Link documentary really dabbled deep into like that era of backyard wrestling that people don't realize gave you who you have now. So it gave you like your Chris Hero, your Ricky Shane Page. It gave you Tony Deppen, all those folks like that. You know, the British guys too, like, you know, Pete and all those guys, they all started backyard wrestling. The what's his name? Flash Gordon Webster or whatever. He was, dude, I literally was when they were in town for the what the hell is the name of that company they all work for in the UK? Oh shit, shut up. Oh shit, I'm drawing a blank, but that company that they work for in the UK was here in town, and they did that show in Berwyn, and they had like all the UK and like Australian and New Zealand guys here. And we met up with like with a few of those guys, just like because we knew Pete and all them, and we were talking, and I'm talking to that Flash Morgan Webster guy, and I'm just like, oh, you know, that's pretty cool, he's here. And I'm asking him about something about wrestling, and he goes, yeah, I used to wrestle for this backyard company. And I go, well, what was your backyard name? And he says his backyard name, and I go, like, shut the fuck up. Because like I knew exactly who he was based off that. And it's like that, it's like, to me, that's crazy, because when I was like a kid, I would watch like pro wrestling, stuff like that, but I would get on the backyard wrestling link, and it'd be like, you know, HBWA has a new music video today, and you'd be like, fuck yeah, I'm gonna watch that. Like, you were excited to see it because you would get into the characters and shit. And he was Napalm, I think was his backyard wrestling. I'm pretty sure it was. And those guys ended up producing some of the best talent in the UK. Like Will Ospreay came from that like pool of people. And it's crazy because you can go back and find all that footage. I actually have a YouTube channel called Backyard Wrestling History. It's called BYW History on YouTube. And I post all of that stuff on there. It's pretty dormant now, but I went and posted hundreds of hours of video on there.
That's awesome. I love that.
It has all of the old backyard wrestling stuff that I kept and downloaded from the previous era. Everything on there is older than dirt. I think like the newest video on there is from like 2009.
That's so cool. I'll have to check that out for sure. 100%. I am very interested in that.
Can you repeat that channel one more time?
BYW History. And it's like red BYW History.
Okay.
It's pretty cool. If you go on there, I categorized everything neatly. So if you go to like playlist, there'll be like Illinois, New York, Indiana, Kentucky. It'll have all the states.
Yep. Florida.
Yeah.
Mhm.
If you go to Chicago, all of our backyard wrestling shit's on there. If you go to Florida, all our backyard shit's on there. Or not Florida, Illinois. It has all of our all of our backyard stuff's on there.
Awesome.
I'm sure
That
people,
is a lot
people
of
right now,
fucking content, yo.
people are probably like, shut the fuck up right now. I'm like putting all our backyard shit on the internet. But it's on there.
Oh, that's good. Nick's, you have any personal goals in wrestling, dream matches, destinations, etc.?
Yeah, I've always, like, for me personally, I think like I'll know when I'm done, when like I just kind of feel like I have nothing left to like personally either prove to myself or like I'm just kind of like running that course. I don't want to be that dude that's like showing up to the VFW hall like talking about stories from the fucking past. Like I'm not that guy. I'll stop before that's over. If anybody ever took an interest in, like, you can't knock anything, but if anybody ever took an interest in me and I ended up getting a career out of this, which is probably not happening, but if that ever were to be the way it would be, like just down the line, someone goes, I really would think you'd be a good addition to the roster or something like that, and I were to go that route, that'd be great. That'd be cool. I could definitely do that. But I think realistically, I'll stay my course right now. As far as like dream matches, I don't really know if there's anybody that I'm like, holy shit, I have to absolutely work that.
Yeah.
I think like 10 years ago, I would have said like Davey Richards, but like fuck that. Like that match would be kick the shit out of me. I think there are current guys now that I know that I won't have matches with. That I'm like pretty bummed that I won't have like I think like when I had initial matches with certain people, I wasn't up to par. I wasn't as good or as experienced, and I wish I could have redos at that. Like I always wish, one of my biggest regrets in wrestling ever was being so nervous to wrestle Chris Hero when it was me and Isaiah versus Chris Hero and Rob Anthony, that I like was so nervous. Like I like legitimately felt physically ill to do the match. I was so nervous, and it went exactly the wrong way. Like I couldn't remember my shit. Chris Hero was like, fuck this piece of shit. And he's just like kicking me in the face. And like, when the match was over, I just like couldn't even look any of them in the face. Like the match is on YouTube. It's not bad. I mean, it's not terrible by any means, but it was, if you go back and watch it, it's not me. It literally looks like there is another person in my body doing the match. I don't act like myself. I don't have any intent. I look like I'm almost like, is it okay, Chris, if I body slam you? Is that okay? Like I just look very like off. Mm-hmm. And I think that's because at that time that was like the biggest match I had ever had. And I just was super scared that like I wouldn't live up to the expectations. So I think I like manifested a bad match out of it,
Yeah. Is he still wrestling right now?
Chris Hero?
I mean, I know he's not in the company or anything, but like
no, I guarantee post-COVID, like post-real COVID world, I would 100% see him doing indies.
Yeah.
I would like to
honestly,
have
when
redos.
we talked about those dream matches, like that's what came to mind. Like I want to see you and Chris Hero go at it.
I would love to be in a position in my wrestling career where he would know that I'm better, but he would first have to remember who I was. He probably doesn't fucking give a shit. But I would love, like, here, this is dream scenario. I would love to be in a situation where I have started to get my traction underneath me again and start to work a little bit more solid and feel good and confident, and have him somehow like remember who I was and be able to be like, yeah, let's redo that match and it would be wonderful. That would be like a dream. That's a dream, right? Mm-hmm. And him be like, you know what? I'm glad the match we redid it, and I'm glad, and you're much better. Good job. And like the credits roll up. Like that would be. I guess,
man. Freelance can make it happen. I think if he's touring and I feel like if he goes back to the indies, like he's already kind of, I don't know, like I feel like he's already kind of had his, and maybe AEW, but like he's already AEW. He's already had his kind of shot at maybe making it. So I feel like if he goes back to the indies, he's going to be in that same mindset. Like, let's just do fulfilling stuff. And Freelance could bring him in and like, he could be like open to it because he's not going to have an agenda,
Yeah. I don't think like I've ever like fucked up with someone. I feel like I've had matches with people where I'm like, oh, we could have did more shit. Like when I wrestled Darby on Evolve, like we had like a 4-minute match. And like, it was very much just to be like a stepping stone so he could get over a little bit more, which is cool. I understand. But like, I feel like I could have had a really good match with him at Freelance,
Yes.
Like we would have killed each other.
Yes. You would be a really good base for him.
Yeah. And I think that's like, those are the kind of matches I'd like to have. I'm not like, I don't think like I can have like a 50-minute slobber knocker with, someone. Like that's not like, I wouldn't have that match, but I'd like to go back and be like, hey, like me and Nick Gage should do another like brawl match. That'd be cool. Like, and I think fans would be like, fuck yeah, let's do that. That'd be cool with that.
Yeah. All right, cool. Well, I think those can happen, honestly. Because I think you work for like I can there's no one I guess I can't picture coming into Logan Square Auditorium. I mean, I've seen it was with a different company, but I've seen fucking Naito in that building. So like I guess you put anyone in there and I feel like you can make it work as like
sky's the limit, man.
Yeah.
GCW has proven that sky is the limit.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, that they really break that wall. Yeah.
It is like sci-fi. Like I can't even describe it. It's almost like silly sometimes the stuff that happens. You're like, really? This is crazy. And it's like, all right, like that's it's like we were saying earlier with the Rumble. It's like you had a couple jokes with you and your buddies, but god damn it, if you have enough money, you can make that shit happen. You know what I mean? And it's fun. And I think that's where it's at right now. Is it could happen because I think it'd be fun.
Yeah, that's a good comparison. Last question. We didn't save the best for last year.
We did not.
Trevor Outlaw asked, how does it feel to lose to Mr. Chicago? I don't know why he's dubbed himself that. I don't see him as that, but that's his question. We have to say it.
To lose to him in character, it was miserable. Miserable. It was awful.
Off character, based on what you said earlier. You have to make the guys look good.
I legitimately didn't get a chance to meet him much because I kind of stopped wrestling. But wonderful dude, cool with me. He was real nice. My fiance bought him a beer after the match.
Probably because he's broke.
Yeah, I don't know. But no, he was great. I think the freelance students are so good. Like I'm not even saying like good wrestling, like, but they're so like good, like up here.
Yeah.
Like, they're not like a bunch of dickheads. So
Correct.
Like meeting him was like refreshing. I was like, oh. Even if he would have been like a super dickhead, I would have been like, oh, there's a million of those in pro wrestling, right? but like he was so like genuinely good. Like I think like he's figuring out like how to be, and like from someone who was like super over the top heel, like seeing him like get the kind of like negative reaction from people, I'm like, he's got it.
Yeah,
he's got it.
Yeah. No, I took a really good bunch of get praise everywhere, and like they're blossoming before our eyes, which is really cool. Chris, word association. I think it's your time. Oh wait, first off, the favorite dessert before we get
favorite dessert. French silk pie.
Yes, great.
That's nice.
And it doesn't even have to be from anywhere special either. But I would
not Baker, not the last Baker Square that's in the area.
Yeah, if it is
they're dying out. They're dying out.
I'd immediately be like, "Where'd you get this?" I like the one, believe it or not, the one that Jewel got is pretty good.
Oh,
for the locals.
Jewel's got some good shit. They got good guac. I could see that. Yeah.
Don't be confused and think Mariano's has got some good shit. That's a good example of good packaging with shitty presentation.
That is true. I'm with you 100%.
And that's like an ambiance environment thing. It's like a cult they have.
You think like it's like when people are like, "Oh, I'm super bougie. I shop at Target," because I've been caught into that mess.
I'm okay with Walmart.
Yeah.
I think that's what I'm doing after I get off this call with you guys.
Oh, well, we won't keep you too long. We just got word association, and then we'll wrap it up. So, Chris, go ahead. You're good at this part.
All right. So, word association, right? I'll throw out a few. 10 plus 1. So usually we go with 10. We got a bonus word here. So I'll throw those at you. You respond to me with one word answers, the first thing that comes to mind. You got that?
God, I'm gonna fuck this up so bad. I'm gonna
It's
say
all right.
Carolina.
It seems easy. It seems easy, but the one word part trumps people up a little bit. So all right. So we'll start off with, I think, an easy one, which is Alex Olson.
Yeah.
Pro wrestling.
Story.
Beta training.
Intense.
Freelance wrestling.
Fun.
Video editing.
Complicated.
Freelance underground.
Fun.
Matt Nix.
Purple.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Coach Joe.
Intense.
Cello Pro.
Green.
Yes.
Yes, we got it.
Yes, we got it.
All right. Chris Castro.
Twitch.
The bonus question, the bonus word here is Dexter.
Adorable.
Adorable. That is adorable. That's it.
We're talking
11.
about my dog, not the.
Yes.
Not the show, yeah.
Not the show, yeah.
Or not
Dog
Dexter's
Dexter.
laboratory. That was really good. You answered quickly. A couple repeats. Okay, we didn't
Yeah, I
say
think there
that
were
wasn't a
some
rule.
repeats,
We
yeah.
didn't say that wasn't a rule, so that's on us. We'll take the blame for that. But
You actually did pretty good.
You did well. You hit both the colors, and you hit the jackpot, which is that's why we put Zello Pro in there, is so everyone can say green.
Almost said when I said Zello, I almost said Matt McCauley. I almost said 2 words. Because when I think of Zello, I just think of Matt, man. I really do.
That would have been a good one. Yeah. But like,
I've always thought of Matt until somebody said green, and then I can't think of anything else.
Do you know anything about Matt McCauley's backyard wrestling?
Backyard
no,
wrestling?
I don't know his I don't know his backyard stuff.
I don't want to hang you up, but I'm going to leave you with this. Matt McCalling, and if you were to say Matt McCalling, I would say Hawaiian shirt. Because Matt McCalling used to come out to the ring with this big Hawaiian shirt on, and his gimmick, I don't remember what the fuck it was. But Matt McCalling used to come to the ring, and he was like the fan favorite of ETW or whatever he wrestled for. And me and Sylvester, who's my buddy, went up and did a backyard show. They used to live up in Gurnee. And we did a backyard wrestling show. Joey Marks wrestled on that show. Mason Conrad wrestled on that show. A bunch of guys. And we do the first match. We like do our match and everything. And we're like, man, there's a lot of fans at this show. Like it's like 50 fans in this backyard. And this motherfucker is like the main event. He comes out with like Hawaiian shirt on, and he's like killing it. He's like the fan, like super face. And I'm like, this is fucking hilarious. Like this dude's got a crowd and everything.
He's
So when
the
I think of
Kylie of Gurney.
Dude, I am not lying. They would have like 50, 60 fans. And they were getting into this shit. And he was like the main event. He was like the champion. It was at his house.
So fun. That makes so much sense because he is an inviting person, but he also now, and just think of like what he went on to do for his career, which is I think he was in event promotion or like event management, and he was doing it at a young age.
I never worked much for Zello. I don't know if I just never like maybe like fit their thing, but like Zello stuff's cool with me. But I think like Matt's always been like a promoter. Like it's crazy. Like you think back, like that was like 2005 or something.
It's in his blood.
Dude, and he was like the champion in his own backyard. It was amazing. I'm surprised you guys never heard about any of this shit. You probably never want to talk about it, but there you go on the podcast.
I think we might clip this. Would you be mad if we clip this specific story and tweet it at him?
I would not be mad. I just hope that I hope I remember it correctly, first of all, and I'm pretty damn sure that it was a Hawaiian shirt.
I mean, that sounds on brand for him.
Yeah.
I don't remember his wrestling name, and I'm pretty sure it might have just been Matt McCauley.
Okay.
I'm pretty damn sure. I'm probably like glorifying this a bit, but it was awesome.
That would be actually in today's world.
Can we find
yeah,
that?
is that on the
UIW?
history? Is that in the archives?
I have no clue. Any of that footage, it does not exist.
I think we need to have him send you some.
Yeah, dude, he ran ETW. and it was cool. Like their shit was good. I'm gonna say it was. I think it was ECW.
Was there
Maybe.
was there not to dive too deep because we're wrapping up? Was there one database site that you would go to for all this information, or was it just spread out across the web?
It was the Backyard Wrestling link, but that shit like went down. And then Scott Henson used to have Blue Thunder. I think he still does it, but it's mainly like VCW, so like Vancouver stuff. But he had VCW and all that stuff on the Blue Thunder website. But then I couldn't find a lot of it, and I would go to links, and if I could get it, I would download it. And I just like mined all of this video. I have all of these things, so that's why the Backyard Wrestling History YouTube exists. And there's like 100 videos that can't go on there because they're copywritten. So I had to get really crafty with some of the videos. I had to like slow them down or like change the pitch of the music. And it was just super time consuming. So really what's on there is actually like a fraction of what actually exists. There's so much. It's like,
I mean, obviously, I
So
don't
good.
know if IWTV would be interested. You would be interested in, but I'm like, I don't know why WTV doesn't just purchase all this shit.
Or do you have? Is it a successful channel? Do you have a lot of views and stuff? I'm assuming you do. Oh, you don't?
no, people
It,
barely
it
know it's
seems
there.
really underground. Like, I mean,
People
now
literally
that
will
you're
go there.
talking about it, yeah. Go ahead.
The people that will go there are like people who are in those videos, and they usually like message me and they're like, dude, thank you so much. Like one of the people that reached out to me personally is this guy named Overhaul. He's from Ohio, and he used to make all the BYW link videos. And he reached out to me. He's the owner of these videos. He made these videos. And he reached out to me and was like, dude, like, thank you for not only like posting them, but like organizing them. Like I could see them all now.
Yeah,
They're
You know?
organized. Yeah.
Yeah.
that's sweet.
Cool
Well, we
stuff.
got to give that some more love. We'll include that.
BYW History just got my subscribed.
I think the IWTV should start a thing called the Backyard Chronicles, and they
Yes.
just do like
There you go.
literally a 60-minute thing, and they have some host, and they're just like, all right, on today we're gonna look at HWF Hardcore Halloween 6, and they play the music video, and it would be fucking awesome.
You record and edit, and we'll find a host. We'll get Sarah Joy Shockey in there as the host or someone.
Dude, imagine if they could do that and they had someone mildly funny over it, almost like the old like TNT like watch-alongs when they had like Joe Bob. Did you ever see that shit when he would watch
Yeah.
the horror movies? Dude, if they did that, the production would be super low
Yeah,
and it would be super easy. All the content's already created.
yeah,
It's all edited already.
true.
So
Craig, this has been a super unique and interesting conversation. I'm so glad we did this. I really am.
Thank
This interview is nothing like any of our other ones, and that's like a good thing. So you brought so much new stuff to the table. I really appreciate it.
I
We do.
appreciate it, guys. It's fun.
Yeah.
Craig, where can people find you on social media?
I'm on the usuals.
plugs.
I'm on the Twitters. I'm on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. Craig Mitchell. If you find it, it's probably a picture of me like looking like a fat superhero on one knee, or I'm
Like-
body slamming somebody.
This one right here, like
Yeah.
the Hulk that just comes down from the.
That's like the
You're
fat
hulking out.
superhero landing.
Yeah,
like-
a little bit of Black Widow, a little bit of Hulk right here.
Like if there's like Captain America, and then there's like Captain South or something like Captain White Trash.
Captain Mason Dixon.
If I was wearing a white singlet, it would be 100%. Just like Photoshop a cigarette in my mouth.
Oh, it's good.
Listen, all I see is intensity and confidence. Like that's exactly what I get when I see you in the ring. So I
Yeah.
appreciate it. Thank you for your time here. And this is episode 199. Next episode will be to the big 200.
And we have nothing planned.
Nothing planned.
We reached out to one person. He hasn't responded to my DM. I won't
could have been
call that person out. I'm
Episode
sure
200.
he could be still, unless we're
I
gonna.
don't think so.
Okay, he might be 201. So
It could be 201.
he could be 201. But yeah, I mean you're leading us into a milestone. I just want to point out really quick. I'm just going to take a second to humble brag, but I counted up today. But I just want to touch on this really quick before you take us home, Chris. We've been doing this for 4+ years, right, Chris? Is that right?
Sounds about right.
So I just want to, we've published preview and recap content on at least 110 indie wrestling shows in the area. So 43 freelance underground, 29 AAW, 21 Warrior, 14 Zello, and then a sprinkle and 3 GCW. And we did one Sabotage show to help promote their streaming. That's in Texas, not here, technically. So 109 or 110 if you want to count that.
When we started this, the goal was to kind of shine the light on some indie shows that we really enjoy, that we, love going to. In the case of Texas, they reached out to us. We looked at their product. We enjoyed it. And it's like, at that point, I believe like Thunder Rosa was even part of that stuff. So look where people are now and look at the conversations that we had just like today. Super different, super enlightening. And I've had a blast. I've had a blast for 199 episodes. And I think Charlie, you probably like led the first 3 on your own. But this definitely has been quite the journey, and COVID definitely threw out, COVID and me having 3 kids, 2 kids due to pandemic, like threw a wrench in there, and we stopped for a little bit, skipped a couple weeks, but we're here, and I've had a great time. So thank you to everyone that has listened and followed and retweeted and liked any statuses that Charlie has made, because Charlie handles all the social media. I suck at that. But I'll eventually contribute to Instagram shortly.
I think so.
Craig, thank you so much for joining us today and making the time. Absolutely. Congratulations to you guys. Congratulations to you guys on your 200 episodes. By the time this comes out, you'll be hopefully getting ready for number 200.
Hopefully, as you can still follow us and share, retweet, etc. over at on Twitter, 2 Heels and a Face. That's number 2 Heels and a Face. Instagram, Facebook, 2 Heels and a Face, number 2 Heels and a Face. You can visit our website, 2heelsandaface.com. And we're pretty much everywhere in any podcast platform. If we're not, you're not looking hard enough, as Charlie says.
Mm-hmm.
And what we can say is hashtag Viva La Chico. He's making his comeback.
Yes, big fans of Chico. So we're going to use that hashtag when promoting this. But otherwise, thanks for your time.